Hi, friends, and welcome to episode 8 of our root cause mini-series. You're not ill, your well is dry. How dehydration causes disease and symptoms are thirst signals. So if you tend to think of hydration as just an afterthought, keep watching. Because today we're looking at the water to cardiovascular disease pathway. So let's start with high blood pressure. And this is crucial because heart disease is the leading cause of death in the US, and worldwide, nearly 1 in 3 deaths in the world is from cardiovascular disease. So if hydration and water quality are the leading influence over cardiovascular health, as much of the emerging research is showing, and as I would argue Dr. Batman-Gelage has proved, then addressing water as medicine is not ancillary. It is not an afterthought. It should be the foundation for tackling what many say is the greatest health crisis of our time. Dehydration, for sure, in my opinion, and hopefully as you're beginning to see as a part of this series, is the greatest health crisis of our time because it's what underlies all the other crises and prevents your body's ability from detoxifying properly, from energizing your mitochondria properly, etc., etc. So going back to heart disease, what if the real cause of hypertension is not too much salt or too much cholesterol or your body's deficiency in statins, but what if it's too little or the wrong kind of water in your body of water? When your body is in a state of drought, it has to compensate by rationing the little water that it has left away from some areas which end up unable to function as well and towards other more essential areas that keep us alive in the immediate present moment. Your body is always navigating what's the most important place for me to put the limited water that I have on board if it's dehydrated. As Dr. Batman-Gelage wrote, the body's drought management system is exquisitely intelligent, but it comes at a cost: reduced circulation, increased blood pressure, and the slow buildup of toxins. So let's talk about high blood pressure in particular, hypertension, the so-called silent killer. Here's what actually happens in very simplified terms. When your body doesn't have enough water, your blood becomes thicker, right? It becomes more concentrated, more viscous. So to keep your vital organs supplied, your blood vessels constrict, making the space for the blood flow even narrower. And then the heart has to pump harder to push this thicker blood through your system. Now, this is, again, an oversimplification because the heart doesn't actually pump blood. The heart, as a muscle, is not strong enough to pump. The heart actually acts as a vortex, which gives this beautiful electric impulse to the blood, which then spirals through your veins that have spiral striations on the inside of them that allows the water to have this vortexing motion, allows the blood to have this vortexing motion that decreases resistance as the velocity is increased. So the faster your blood moves, the less resistance there is. However, when your biowater becomes destructured, there's not as much of that vortexing motion. And when you don't have enough hydration on board, the blood gets too thick to be able to do so quickly and efficiently. Plus, with the buildup of arterial plaque, some of those spiral striations on the inside of the blood vessels make it harder for that blood to be able to move through in that vortexing way. And so it just gets more stagnant and devitalized. The same way that when we artificially straighten a river or put dams in a river, that water becomes more stagnant, more dull, more prone to sediment and other toxins building up in there because it doesn't have the natural vortexing motion of a waterway that has the switchbacks and the natural vortexing motion. So that's a little bit of a tangent, but suffice it to say, every system of waterways that your body has, the earth also has. And when we want to learn how to take care of our internal waterways, we have to look towards the hydrology of the earth to learn how to do so. I teach all about that in my internal oceans course. But let's get back to simplifying cardiovascular health. When you're dehydrated and your blood is thicker, your whole body just has to work harder to get it through the veins, resulting in elevated blood pressure. And there's so much research to support this. Studies show that even mild dehydration can increase blood viscosity and vascular resistance, both of which, of course, drive up blood pressure. Now, the CDC reports that around 75% of US adults are chronically dehydrated, although you can check out my last video on YouTube to see exactly why that number is actually much, much higher. Now, the NIH has also linked low hydration to increased risk of cardiovascular disease and premature death. So this is no secret. The secret is just how important, impactful, and pervasive this is. And then most people are prescribed diuretics and beta blockers, medications that force the body to lose even more water, deepening that underlying drought, deepening this root cause, creating this vicious cycle that's almost impossible to get out of, which is why this is such a pernicious issue. As Dr. Batman-Gelage said, the present way of treating hypertension is wrong to the point of scientific absurdity. Certainly, we can see with mortality statistics like this, the present methods are not effective, and that's because it is ignoring the underlying issue of dehydration. When you don't address chronic, low-level, mostly imperceptible patterns of dehydration in the body and lifestyle over time, they compound and eventually lead to the diseases that we associate with being normal later in life. Statistically, if you're sitting in the room right now with 4 of your friends, one of you will die of heart disease, but you can affect that fate. A 2019 study showed that even short-term dehydration can harm blood vessel function and blood pressure regulation, impairing circulation, making the heart work harder, and setting the stage for future cardiovascular trouble. It starts now. So don't wait until today's thirst becomes tomorrow's symptoms. Even just drinking 5 glasses of water per day lowers your risk of heart attack and coronary disease by over 40%. Just 5 regular old glasses of water, over 40%. Now imagine if you had a strategic rehydration protocol that's very convenient and easy to implement, like what I like to teach you, where you're actually drinking highly bioavailable, structured, mineral-rich water that is living and imbued with life force energy and photonic energy, et cetera, et cetera. I bet we can bump that number way up from 40%. One study showed that participants drinking 5 glasses a day had a 61% lower risk of dying from a heart attack compared to those drinking 2 glasses a day. So would you drink more water if you knew that it would reduce your risk of heart disease by half? And what if you knew how to revitalize and alchemize your drinking water so that it became so therapeutic that it reduced your risk of heart disease entirely? Because again, it's really not just about simply drinking more water. How much water you drink is irrigation. How much water your cells absorb is hydration. And as we learned in the previous episode about thyroid disease, some waters actually significantly worsen the problem. For example, according to a report by the WHO, whom I don't normally trust, but I think they got this one right, drinking low TDS water like distilled or reverse osmosis waters contributes to heart disease over time. Early symptoms include fatigue and weakness, with more severe symptoms like impaired heart rate and muscle cramps are actually a warning sign of the more long-term inevitability of heart disease. They've done ecological studies around the world showing that populations drinking very soft, low mineral water or distilled and reverse osmosis water had higher rates of hypertension and coronary heart disease compared with those drinking harder, more mineral-rich water. So quality electrolytes are a crucial part of the equation. Of course, you can find all of my top recommendations for the best water filters, water structurers, minerals, electrolytes, etc. at waterislife.shop. But it's not surprising that distilled and reverse osmosis are as popular as they are, with the levels of coronary disease being as high as they are. Also, not surprisingly, tap water also contributes massively. This is what really just irks me. The very substance that should be our primary medicine has been turned into our primary poison, especially in America in this upside down world. The US EPA states outright that adults exposed to lead in drinking water can suffer cardiovascular effects, including increased blood pressure and hypertension. And as of now, in 2025, water systems serving around 250 million people in the US show detectable lead at or above the recommended maximum level, not to mention the trihalomethanes that are found in pretty much all US tap water systems these days. When chlorine meets organic matter in water, it creates THMs, trihalomethanes, like chloroform and brominated byproducts, et cetera, et cetera. Now, beyond just the cancer risk that everyone is hopefully already aware of with these byproducts, THMs also have documented cardiovascular toxicity, disrupting cellular function in heart tissue, et cetera, et cetera. Epidemiologic studies link higher THM exposure to arrhythmias, hypertension, and more. Not to mention the nitrates, the PFAS, the arsenic, the list goes on and on. They all affect the heart. All of your biowater flows through this exquisitely sensitive spiral muscle vortexing life force energy through your entire body. When you drink a glass of water, it becomes your blood within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes. So when you have that glass of water in your hand, you think, is this medicine or is this poison to my heart? To my one wild, precious, great, big, beautiful being heart. Side note, they've done studies at the HeartMath Institute that show that even when you hold a glass of water in your hand, your heartbeat can actually be measured in that glass. Your water is listening and responding to your heart all the time, even before you drink it. So although I don't really recommend reverse osmosis and distillation, if you're dealing with tap water as your source water, filtration is absolutely crucial. Of course, you can find all of my favorite water filters at waterislife.shop, just the ones that I've personally vetted and endorsed. But even some of the trendy woke waters out there are really not much better. A lot of people jumped on the whole alkaline ionized water bandwagon, buying pricey machines like Kangen that actually do more harm than good in the long term. I'm not a fan of Kangen. I have a whole playlist on YouTube that you can check out that will explain why. Hot take, I know, but one that I will stand by, because studies have shown that drinking alkaline ionized water in the long term can cause necrosis and fibrosis of cardiac tissue, along with hyperkalemia, which are key elements of heart disease. So what water should we be drinking? Really, any water can be revived and brought back to life and turned into a full spectrum elixir of health if you know how to take care of it. And that's what I teach in my courses at waterislife.academy. Academy. So you can find the full guides over there. You can even find a free quick start PDF guide to just keep it simple. But for now, because we don't gatekeep over here and I don't want to leave you empty-handed, just so you have a good takeaway that you can start today. What's the starting point? The steps that I recommend are to filter, structure, balance, and energize your water so that even regular tap water can become an elixir of longevity and health. Once again, just drinking 5 glasses a day of swag water will decrease your risk of heart disease by 40%. Imagine what drinking truly living water will do. Hopefully by now you can see that cardiovascular disease is actually your body's adaptation to drought. It is a built-in survival mechanism. Now, of course, this is short form content, so I'm not able to go over all of the specificities of the body's pathways of dehydration here. This is meant to be just an overview to start getting the ball rolling. If you want to go even deeper, you can get my Internal Oceans course or book me for a private consultation. Of course, it goes without saying, nothing that I ever say or anything on this channel is intended to be medical advice. You always want to go through your healthcare provider and take everything that I say with a grain of salt and then do your own research. I'm clearly not a doctor. I'm just obsessed with water. But I can share with you what medical doctors are saying, which is that cardiovascular disease is an adaptation to drought. It is a built-in survival mechanism. And the real solution isn't just in a pill. The solution is literally a liquid water mineral solution. Water is the universal solvent, the solver of health's problems. The answer is in living liquid life and creating a well-informed hydration strategy that actually addresses improving your inner waters, not just chugging distilled or purified or tap water that can do more harm than good. It's time to get informed about hydration practices because it could be the one skill that saves your life. And if you want to continue your research from here, I can highly recommend this book by Dr. Tom Cowan. So hopefully you can see that hydration cannot just be an afterthought. In a body that is 70% water by volume and 99.9% water molecularly, caring for your waters is the origin of, as Dr. Carly Newday said, when we realize that aging and disease are byproducts or symptoms of the loss of structure in our cellular fluids, we arrive at a more effective approach to treatment that's based on the actual mechanics of our biology. Research in the field of structured liquid crystalline water can, should, and eventually will revolutionize and transform healthcare and medicine, aging and life expectancy, disease treatment and prevention, including that of mental illness and genetic defects. And as Dr. Freydin Batman-Gelage said, it is unintentional chronic dehydration that causes pain and disease, including cancer in the body. As Dr. Masaru Emoto said, it is chronic water shortage in the body that causes most of the diseases of the human body. And as Dr. Zach Bush said, if we could stay perfectly hydrated in the intracellular environment, our aging would slow down, if not reverse. Dr. Alexis Carroll said that if we could renew the fluid surrounding the cell at regular intervals, in other words, stay hydrated, then the pulse of life could go on forever. Dr. Dana Cohen said, learning how to hydrate is the first step in treating and preventing chronic disease. Dr. Ishihara Yumi said, aging is just a gradual process of drying out. And I could give you countless examples like from medical doctors who see it in action every day. It's time we start listening to these doctors who are devoting their lives to this research. It's time for the truth to come out. And the truth is, my friends, that water is life. Therefore, hydration is health. So to be well, fill your well with really good water. And I'm here to show you how. If you want to learn how to revive your drinking water, comment NW course. And once again, if you want to learn how to fully hydrate your body of water, comment IO course. I think they'd have to be separate comments for the links to get sent to you. But after that, you can drop a comment and let me know which health and hydration pathway you're most interested in me exploring in the next episode. And until then, be well and be water, my friend.